Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today we are going to be talking about the top 10 reasons you should own a CanAm Spyder. You know, it's been a while since I've done a video like this, I'll be quite honest with you, but I've gotten quite a few comments here lately that I've found very interesting. Some of them are lovely and some of them not so lovely. Many of them are this: why don't you just buy a Miata or a Porsche Boxster? You know, you're just driving a big car, you know. I get a lot of those comments. In fact, I got one this week and got into on a forum, got into a little exchange with a guy. It wasn't a big deal, but I think it was a big deal to him. If you know what I mean, because I'm on a lot of different forums, and you know, because I write a lot of different things. And when the Spyder came up, man, this dude just went off like a cannon, man. It was crazy. It's funny how people who don't ride these things and don't know anything about them can have such a hate relationship with them, and the people that seem to ride them. Now, I know look, you can leave all the comments down below. I don't care what anyone thinks, and I don't either. However, I do think that does impact many people who want to buy something like this, and they have someone make some sort of snide remark, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not going to buy one. It's embarrassing. It's this, it's that. So let's talk about the top 10 reasons you should buy a Spyder. And they're in no particular order. In fact, if you'll look around, I don't have a lot of notes. This is going off my memory because I've ridden this thing a long time and I put many miles on it, and I thought I was going to run over that squirrel. But reason number one, you should own a Spyder, because they are creature comfort maximum. What do I mean by that? Well, when you go for a ride, you are going to be comfortable. The seats out of the box, you know, there are a lot of people who complain about seats. It's too soft, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. And there are a lot of people who go out and they buy the really expensive over-the-counter seats, the aftermarket seats, if you will, that are thousands of dollars, literally. I have not found that necessary at all. I haven't found it necessary at all. I can do big miles on this seat. This is the stock seat, and anyone who wants to just do miles with me, I can tell you that we can get out and we can go do big miles, and I can sit right here on this seat with no butt buffer, with no Max Mile Cushion Pro or any of that stuff, and just on a stock Spyder seat. And I guarantee you I can do the 600 to 1,000 mile days, no problem, back to back to back to back to back. And if there's anything that's going to be a problem, it ain't going to be my butt or my back. It's just going to be the fact that my brain is tired from putting in big miles. Oh yeah. Oh, feel that Spyder hug the road. Reason number two is exactly what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I know you're saying, well, you can't lean the motorcycle. Well, you know what? There are two machines out here. One is the CanAm Spyder, and the other is the Coach Bob. And so I can lean. I may not be able to lean this, but I can lean this. And anyone who's ever ridden a motorcycle, actually ridden a motorcycle, you know, that they're looking at high performance turns, they're going to realize that you're what's hanging off the machine anyway. And that's how you experience that lean, is by getting off of the machine. The dudes that are just sitting upright going, they think that's leaning, but it's really, I won't even go there. That was part of the conversation. But understand that the handling ability of the Spyder is superlative. And if for anyone who's ever ridden a three-wheeled motorcycle of any kind, whether it's the Harley Tri-Glide or any traditional trike, you know, one in the front, two in the back, versus the two in the front, one in the back, they will know real quick, I mean snidely whiplash quick, that this thing handles like a beast. It absolutely handles like a beast. And so if you love a nice sharp handling machine, then the Spyder is definitely one for you. All right, So creature comforts and handling ability. Number 3, intuitive design. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you know, you have a lot of motorcycles, you have a lot of machines in general, and I'm going to go with the European motorcycles in particularly, because I just think that the European motorcycles, I'm just going to say it, they are far superior to the American motorcycles, and they are far superior to the Japanese motorcycles. Now, we could debate that as long as there is a sun in the sky and there is dirt under my feet, and you're not going to change my mind, because I have a Japanese motorcycle and I've ridden Harleys for many, many years, and I understand what is what. Now, Harley is doing some catch up, but when it comes to design of a 3-wheeled motorcycle, the overall design, like on the European motorcycles, there's nothing that compares to the Can-Am Spyder. Nothing. In the 3-wheeled market, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it costs. Yeah, I even said that. You can go pick up a $50,000 Tri-Glide, and I don't care. I'm going to tell you right now, when I ride it, no offense, because I think the Harley makes a beautiful machine. The fit and finish is superior. But when you start talking about rideable design, the actual design of the machine, the Can-Am Spyder will smoke it. It will leave it in the curves. It'll just absolutely leave it behind. Ask me how I know, because I've ridden with Tri-Glide guys, and they're like, you are flying through those turns. I feel like I would just be blasting off into the grass. They can feel their front end not tracking well at the speeds that I'm going, and I understand that because I've ridden them, and that's exactly how it feels. It is not confidence expiring, I'll tell you that. That's a fact. But the front end of this thing, and for anyone who's ever really leaned on a motorcycle, you know, they understand about the front end, losing the front end. It's very easy to do, and this machine, I can tell you, I will hear the tires chirping, but it is the back tire chirping. The front tires, you're going to feel more like you're going to lift the inboard wheel from the centrifugal force than you are, you know, gonna lose the front end. Before I hit number 4, if you would do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, give it a big old thumbs up, and share it with your friends. All that stuff, man. A beautiful lake over there, man. It's always a love, love, love to ride. All right, so number 4. Number 4. It is great for touring. This machine is a touring beast, and anyone who ever questions its prowess, all they need to do is ride with me for 2 days, and they'll be like, that machine's a touring beast. It is a touring beast. You can ride on this thing for miles and miles and miles and miles. One of the things that you know will get your attention real fast when you're out, I'm gonna turn these heated grips down. My hands are getting a little too warm. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute too. But one of the things that happens while touring is you have uneven road surfaces. Now, any of us who have ridden for many, many years, we understand how disconcerting that can be. And when you're out riding around and all of a sudden you hit the big bump and clip-bump, and all of a sudden the road surface changes and you feel all of this weird movement. And when it's very early in the morning and the sun's not quite up, or you've got the glare of the sun in your face, I'm going to tell you, it can get your attention. Well, all of that worry, that fear that occurs when you're touring in big areas that are new to you, you know, it makes a big difference. To be able to just tour and focus on your ride, the scenery around you, and the traffic that's trying to kill you, as opposed to worrying about, you know, trying to keep the machine upright, it makes a big, big difference. And that's the next thing that I'm going to talk about, is the security of 3 wheels, of not worrying about falling. That's a big deal. Now, for many of us, and I'm going to include me in this, that deal with things other than just, you know, hey, I want a motorcycle that looks like fill in the blank. You know, I have a wife that's paralyzed. Anyone who's watched this channel knows that. My wife is paralyzed. We tour on this thing. We ride 2 up. I pick her up. I put her on the machine. I put her wheelchair in the little trailer that we pull behind us, and we tour and we travel and we ride. We go to everything from 100-mile lunch to, you know, we've ridden as far as 150 miles one way just to have lunch. Actually, we've gone further than that. So we will do a 300 to 400 mile day just to have lunch. We crossed the country twice, once east to west, once north to south, and the only thing that was difficult for us was the weather, safety of it, and the security of the riding it 2-up. You don't have to worry about dropping this thing. And when I've got her on the back, that's a real concern, because with her legs being paralyzed, if the machine falls over, it will land on her legs and break her legs, and she cannot move to get her legs out from under there. I would be trying to pick up a heavy machine, and there it would be. Which ties into my next one. Your ability to do just big miles comfortably. Now, a lot of these overlap, and I know you're saying, Bob, those are the same thing, but they're really not. The ability to do miles comfortably when your back is hurting, when your legs are hurting, when you're cramping up, when you're tired. Once you develop your feel for this machine, it is very, very comfortable. It is not Miata comfortable. It is not Porsche Boxster comfortable. You are still sitting on a motorcycle seat. You are still holding on to handlebars. Your feet are still on motorcycle pegs. You still have one tire in the back, and you still can lean your body with the turns. It is a completely different experience than a Miata Boxster or a Slingshot. It's not a car. But big miles, man, you can do big miles. I talked a little while ago, about the creature comforts and the overall design, the intuitive design. But I want to do a little talk about the cockpit while I'm talking about the ability to tour, because you've got heated grips, a low setting and a high setting. I have cruise control. It really does well, and it really is comfortable. It really, really is. So the CanAm Spyder, man, when you start talking about that, the creature comforts and the design and all that stuff, it is absolutely 5-star. Look, a bunch of bicycle riders. Makes you want to ride, don't it? I remember doing that. I don't do that no more. Man, I loved it. It was great. All right. So next up, for those who don't want to blend in with the planet, is you're going to be different. It's funny. I did actually have a buddy of mine who was telling me, hey, my Harley and all this, I just want to be different. And we laughed. We were having a nice adult beverage, and I laughed and I said, "You're different, just like everybody else." And he just started laughing, and because he understands what I'm saying, and the Spyder is different. There's more of them out there now. They're more commonplace than they were. But if you really want to be different, if you really don't want to blend in, get a Spyder. You're not going to blend in. You're going to be the one. It definitely is different. The feel is different. The look is different. It is completely different experience, while still maintaining the connection with the outdoors and feeling like you were on a two-wheeled motorcycle without the lean. That's the way I would describe it. It would be like just riding a two-wheeler. So dare to be different. Don't let the world define you. You don't have to let the world define you. You can just ride your ride and do what you want to do. And that's one thing that the Spyder does very, very well. Next up, the stopping of accumulation of fatigue. The CanAm stops that accumulation of fatigue. One of the things that you experience when you go on big tours is this accumulation. And let me explain what that means. And anyone who's ever done any endurance athletics type thing, well, I'll take bike riding, Bill. We just saw those bicycle racers. If you do a multi-day tour on a bicycle, day 1 you feel great, day 2 you feel okay, 3, 4. When you get up to about day 5 of a tour, your body starts feeling like a bag of hammered crap. And a lot of times that happens while you're riding as well. If you're putting in big miles, hard miles, based on your level of fitness, After about 3 days, you're done. You're toast, man. And this machine, and this is from a guy who is, for those who follow the channel, I've been riding an adventure bike a lot. I'm riding in terrain more like this and doing things that are a little different than this channel is used to. But I do have my my Triumph Tiger, my 900 Rally Pro. So be sure and look for material on that as well. I love that machine. It's great. But what I'm going to tell you is that if you don't have peak physical condition, a tour, and when I say a tour, I'm not talking, you know, driving 400 miles and turning around and coming home. I mean, that's 800 miles. It's a long way, okay? What I'm talking about is thousands of miles. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles, 6,000 miles. These big tours where you're gone 15, 16 days. When you're talking a month maybe out on the road, that accumulation of fatigue can be absolutely brutal. And all of a sudden you find yourself snapping at your riding partner, or you're just miserable and angry and frustrated and tired and all of that. And look at this. This is Lake Miccosukee. Isn't this beautiful? You know, I know you can do this on any motorcycle, but I'm going to tell you, I love doing it on my Spyder. Going out doing them a little fishing. Very, very nice. All right, next up, what do we got next? Storage capacity. I'll drop a card up here for what the storage capacity is on the CanAm Spyders, but it's a lot. In fact, let's do more than that. Let's just do this right here. You know, I've got my helmet on. There's nothing on this road, not this time of day. Everybody is out in their boat. So I just hit the parking brake so it won't roll off. It's actually in gear. Is that crazy? So for those who don't have a Spyder, most people think that all you have is this, okay? Now I'm going to open this. I got stuff in there. This is rain gear and jackets, all that stuff. That's just my everyday stuff. This side here, this is empty. You can see how deep and cavernous that is. Then, of course, you have your back bag. Now, on the newer models, these are even bigger, and they will hold 2 full-face helmets. This one won't. And then this. Look at that. That is massive. Yes, I have rags for wiping my windshield and stuff down when I'm out. But is that amazing? That is just amazing. We can carry everything on this thing. So for you ladies out there, when you want to carry your makeup bag, you got room. And for you men, when you want to have that nice razor kit so that you can be neatly groomed for that lady friend of yours, you don't have to leave that stuff at home. You can still look dashingly handsome, and ladies can look flashingly beautiful because you got room to carry all your stuff. You know, now I don't carry a lot of creature comfort stuff. The front, when we do a big tour, the front is my stuff. This bag over here, that's Coach Vic's. This bag over here is rain gear. The back bag is all of our camera gear, and then we have a trailer that we pull with her wheelchair in it, and we know exactly where everything is. We do it exactly the same way every single time. You'll develop a system and you'll have everything you need. We have everything we need. We carry a toolkit. We carry a little air compressor, a little battery-powered air compressor. We carry tire plugs. I mean, we have plenty of room for everything we need on this machine. And there are many people who right here on this top bag, I'm going to turn around here, boop, right there on that top bag, they'll mount a rack. And the little rack that they'll mount, they'll be able to put things on top of that as well. And if you're riding solo on this back seat back here, you could put a duffel. I mean, you could just carry so much stuff, and it doesn't seem to affect the handling whatsoever. So next up, let's talk about suspension adjustability. Now the front end obviously does not, I'm just going to be quite honest with you, I have never felt a need to adjust the front end of this motorcycle. However, when you get into the RT Limiteds, they have electronic suspension, and it adjusts itself, and it's an air suspension. But I'm going to show you what's on the lower model, which is what I have. I don't have the I don't have the Limited. I have the standard RT. Lifting the seat, you see right here, that is an air valve. I can look at the weight of the rider and look at the manual and see how much we are loading this, and I can simply put air in the suspension to adjust it. I can make it more cush on days where, you know, the roads are going to be a little more bumpy, where I'm worried about Coach Vic being uncomfortable. I can stiffen it up for when we have twisty roads out there that we want to perform more on. And personally, I like this better than the electronic suspension because I like to adjust it the way I like it. I am kind of a minimalist when it comes to these things. I want the creature comforts of a touring machine, but I don't want, you know, to be forced into what the factory tells me I need to be at. Now, there may be a way to adjust all of that, and for those of you who have RT Limiteds, you can leave a comment down below on how to adjust your electronic suspension and can you lock it into certain modes. Man, the squirrels are out today. I don't know how I missed him. He went between two wheels. He kept moving though. He's a little bitty guy. All right, next up, the ability to ride in inclement weather. You know, if you are out here in it, you can see the roads are quite wet right now. It poured last night. It was pretty wet when I first got out this morning and did a little bit of riding. When I'm on my two-wheelers, I'm going to tell you right now, if I go around a corner too fast, you can make a little pea come out, if you know what I mean. This thing doesn't really do that. Now, for those of you who like to, you know, have your heart drop into your stomach, that's great for you, but for me, I don't really enjoy that as much as I used to. You know, I learned a long time ago, like in the last 15 years, certainly the last 10, you know, when my son looks at a ladder, he sees a way to climb up on the ladder to change a light bulb. When I look at a ladder, I think, don't break anything. You know, I'm talking about breaking bones is what I'm talking about. So I view everything different now. So is this a machine that's more designed for mature riders? Well, you'll have to be the judge of that. But suffice it to say that when I see the weather, I see it differently now as well. I don't think in terms of, am I going to be cold? Am I going to be hot? Is the rain going to be a nuisance? We know that when you ride, if you're a real rider, yeah, I'm going to say it, if you're a real rider, oh my gosh, I just love it. But if you're a real rider, you know it's going to be hot, you know it's going to be cold, and you know it's going to be wet. Anyone who ever tells you you're just going to ride and it's going to be 75 degrees and beautiful every time you put a key in the ignition of a motorcycle, don't buy that lie, buddy. If you don't want to be cold, wet, and hot, then don't ride, because you're going to be. But the ability for this to handle those situations, especially in the rain. Now, one of the concerns that I had was the wheels, right? So if I'm here in the center of the lane, are my tires going to be in the trenches where the automobile tires are, and then my back tire is in that center where the oil is, which would mean that I have very little traction on the back and very little on the front. And so, because you don't have the weight of a car. So what I've discovered with the Spyder, if you were to measure your wheels from the inside edge of the front wheel to the inside edge of the other front wheel on my Spyder is approximately 50 inches. It could be 49.9 or 50.3. I didn't get into all of the voodoo magic, but roughly 50 inches. On my wife's van it's 55, and on my truck it is 60. which should tell you that's 2.5 inches each side. So this is not a lot of difference between this and a van on the front end, and so it's hard to get out of those trenches without dropping the back tire in the trench. You want as much traction on that back tire as you can get. That's all of your propulsion. So what I've learned is if I kind of push the center line, not dangerously so, but if I push the center line just a little bit, this tire will be way on the left of the trench that would hold the water on that side. This will be mildly outside, and your back tire will be just on the inside of that trench. So basically this trench that holds the water on this side, you line up with your knee, and that knee, where your knee is, there's no tire there. And if you can line that trench up right there, all 3 tires are out of the water. Now when you have a big gully washer on a road like this, there is no way out of the water unless you're in the parking lot. But the ability for this thing to ride in inclement weather, it has really impressed me. In fact, I'm going to say even when it comes to high winds, which that's where I was expecting the worst performance, it did very well. It just did. Does it affect your tracking a little bit? Yes, but no worse than on a big touring motorcycle. In fact, I would say it's a little better. On a big touring motorcycle, you find yourself having to lean into the wind because it'll actually try to push the bike over. Especially when you're in the Midwest, you get out in Oklahoma and Kansas and those areas where the wind is just brutal through the plains. It's crazy. So this handles that quite nicely. The most important for me, the ability to be able to take your spouse with you anywhere you go, and the ability to carry things anywhere you go. You know, when I bought this machine, I wasn't looking for a Spyder. I didn't even want a Spyder. I talked to Vicky. I said, look, I want to go to San Diego. My son was stationed out there in the Navy. And I said, I want to go to San Diego. And I want to put my toes in the Pacific Ocean. And I want to turn around and come back and go to the Atlantic and then go home. And I want to do it on a 2-wheel motorcycle. Would you be interested? I just said on a motorcycle. And I said, would you be interested? And she said, absolutely not. So one thing leads to another, and we start having the conversation. She's irritated. I'm getting ready to go pick up an FJR 1300. Finally, she goes, I'll go with you, but I won't go on that. I won't do that. So I was thinking Goldwing. She hated that. She hated the way it felt. She felt like it was going to fall over on her. And we rode the Spyder. She loved it. I mean, she loved it. And so we bought one and we started riding on it, just the two of us, little short trips. And I was picking her up. I was leaving the wheelchair at home, and I would just literally carry her into restaurants. And now we have a trailer we put a wheelchair in and all that stuff. But you know, there are a lot of spouses out there who just say, I don't like riding on a motorcycle. They don't feel safe. They don't feel solid. I don't like it. I'm not doing it. Virtually every person I've ridden on this, I'm not going to say every person because that would be a lie. None of the responses of anyone have been negative, but of the ones who said they would never ride after they got off of this, they told their husband, I would go with you on that. Not all the time, not every time, but I would ride with you on that. I'm going to tell you right there, if there is no other reason to get a Spyder for me, that was enough. That was absolutely enough. Because the miles that we put in on this machine and the fun that we've had is just, it's unbelievable. We've made memories of a lifetime on this thing. It really is a magnificent machine, and we really do love it. All right. So there's 10 solids on why you should have a Can-Am Spyder in your garage. All right, so another reason, it is a great conversation starter. You know, I've ridden a lot of motorcycles. I've ridden Harleys, I've ridden Suzuki's, Yamahas. Yes, I've even ridden Hondas and many, many Triumphs. In fact, I have 2 Triumphs in my garage right now. None of them compare to the connections that I've made on this machine. None of them. Now, there are more Harley guys out there. Now, you will see more Harley guys and you'll ride. It's easier to find riding companions on the Harleys. But as far as just a pure conversation starter, where people, it just piques their interest, this machine does it. I have kids wanting to take their picture on it. I have, you know, dads, you know, maybe if I bought that, my wife would ride with me, you know, all of that stuff. But it really is a conversation starter. So if you're a social person, or even if you're not a social person, but you would like to be, this will definitely open up avenues of you to talk to people. It really is a very fun machine to have. All right, another reason to own a Can-Am Spyder: visibility. Not the visibility that we have as we scan. Not talking about that visibility. Talking about the visibility of us. How other vehicles will see you. And I'm telling you, it is a dramatic difference. The number of cars I have pull out in front of me on this versus on my two-wheelers, there is zero comparison. The Can-Am Spyder is highly visible across the front, which is where, you know, people pull out in front of you unless you're backing up down the highway. I'm not going to hold it against you if that's what you do. The broader wheelbase in the front, you're not going to be sneaking behind things on this thing. You're going to be, you offer a much larger profile, and that profile is going to be more prone to grab the attention of guys riding in those big metal cages that will get you severely killed. So the visibility of the Spyder is a big plus. I mean, it is a big plus. So I would not underestimate that as a major reason to have one, because it is very confidence inspiring when you see an automobile start to pull out and he goes, whoop, instead of going. And on these gray mornings like this, man, you really gotta watch yourself too. But the visibility is just wonderful. You're highly visible, and the more lights you put on it, the more visible you are. Now this one here is one that there will be those who will argue with me on this, and that's okay, because, you know, personal experiences, they call them personal experiences for a reason. They're personal. They're your actual observations. They're not mass audience observations. They're your observations, and these have been my observations. This thing's been dependable. It's been very dependable. Could it fail me tomorrow? It could. Could something break on it tomorrow and leave me stranded in the middle of nowhere? It could. It could. Just like with my truck or my car or any of my other motorcycles, they can all leave you stranded. But so far, this thing has been solid. Everywhere I go, I've had one shutdown issue in extreme heat, and I'm surprised that, you know, that it hasn't been more than that. Is some of the things I put it through. And I mentioned that this is the kill switch. Could I have bumped it? I looked at pictures. It didn't look like I had, but, you know, could I have bumped it? I never put that beyond the realm of possibility. I don't believe I did. I think it just got too hot and it shut down. It went into survival mode and cooled off, cranked it back up, rode on out. But it was hot, and I was sitting still on an interstate. But this thing, apart from that one thing, has been absolutely 5-star dependable. I put the key in it. It may go, but it cranks up, man. It cranks up. If it's 5 degrees outside, yes, I've ridden in 5-degree temperature. If it's 5 degrees or if it's 105, it's cranked up. I ride in any temperature. I love it. I love the cold. I love the hot. I love the rain. I love it all. So it has been stone cold dependable for me. So there is yet another reason to own a CanAm Spyder. You know, the list could go on and on and on and on. Braking performance on this machine is good. I would say it's good. Would it be something that would lead me to get this over say a Goldwing? No. I did do a braking test video on this thing where I tested it against a little Suzuki SV650, which that thing stops on a dime compared to this, and an automobile, and this stops better than the automobile. Well, once you get to certain speeds, it takes time to stop it. This is a big machine, but I will tell you this, I know this for a fact, it doesn't stop any slower. I repeat, it doesn't stop any slower than any touring machine out there. So I would just say that it's as good as the other touring machines, but it is not something that separates it from the rest. But the braking is good, your fuel economy is good. There again, it's not something that's gonna be better than anything else. It's just gonna be average. I think I do better than this than I did on my Harley. Now I'm sure the newer Harleys are better, but I would hope so. But they're heavy, man. I love the Harleys. I love the weight. I love that heavy feel they have. You know, there again, some people hate that. I would hate that depending on what I'm doing, but for a Harley, when you're riding a Harley, you want to feel like a Harley. So there are a lot of things that are good about this machine, but the things that I've listed above, I'm going to tell you, those sections, those thoughts, this machine excels in those areas. All right, well, there you have it. Another one in the books, baby. So do me a favor this week. Go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams. It could be 2 wheels, 3 wheels, doesn't matter. Eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I will see you on the road real soon.